we've got several people online. So yes, wave to everybody online. Hello. There's like 10 people online. Thank you guys for joining us via Zoom. We wish you were here in person. We've got tons of snacks, a whole table of snacks for you. So I'm sorry you're not here. Hopefully you'll consider coming to visit us in person at another event. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited. This is event number 3 of Innovate State, a 2-week extravaganza of all things innovation at Georgia State. The goal of Innovate State is to highlight all of the amazing and innovative work that is taking place all over campus that students often are not familiar with and aren't aware of what's happening. We've got an amazing panel for everyone online today. And I'm super excited to introduce you to them. This is going to be a phenomenal discussion. We have our Main Street Entrepreneur Seed Fund alum. Main Street is our flagship program for entrepreneurs. Main Street was technically founded in 2018 as a result of a grant from the Bernie Marcus Foundation. And the funds were used to provide seed funding for entrepreneurs. As most of you are aware, Georgia State has an entrepreneurship minor, entrepreneurship major. We have a space for entrepreneurs. This is Launch GSU, your student business incubator. And the last piece of the entrepreneurship puzzle was funding. So Main Street, under the tutelage of Dr. Jennifer Scherer, became our accelerator program that provides non-diluted seed funding to entrepreneurs and small business owners. We have the pleasure of introducing you to 4 of our incredible alums. You'll hear more about them. They're going to introduce themselves. And they applied, each of them for their respective cohorts, were up against over 100 different Georgia State alums. They had to go through 2 rounds of applications. They passed round 1, were able to complete round 2, and then were selected again out of over 100 individuals to be a part of Main Street, which is a 6-month accelerator program where they go through workshops and training programs. And then at the end of the program, had the pleasure of competing for additional funding at the graduation, if you will, called Demo Day. And we have several winners of Demo Day. We have several first place winners and second place winners. So you are being treated today to all of the winners of Georgia State Main Street. And again, they'll tell you which cohort they represent and a little bit about their business. We've got 2 moderators for you today. We've got our Director Emeritus, Jennifer Scherer, was the director of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, who recently left to practice what she preaches and continue to run the family business. So we are just grateful that she came back to join us today. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have MK Khan. MK has been our entrepreneur in residence since the beginning, since 2018. Were you here in 2018? Yeah, because that's when the program started. 2018 during cohort 1. So this is the Main Street dream team here. And Jennifer and MK are just going to moderate some questions, but then let you hear about all their amazing successes, what's going on, and ask them questions. Folks online, we will be monitoring the Zoom, so feel free to go ahead and put your questions in the Zoom, and I promise we will get to them. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Jennifer kick it off, and thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you, Ms. Erica, and thanks to all of you for joining us. The first thing I want to say is that I already had a lot of respect and admiration for you, all of you, including MK, who started and exited many businesses. And now that I am actually 3 months into doing it myself, having walked away from a very good job and a fabulous team of people, I have even more respect and admiration for you because it's hard. But hopefully today we can leave you with some advice and some lessons and some resources that you can take with you as you think about starting a business or building your business. So first order of business, though, is to let's hear who these founders are, and so do a quick self-introduction of yourself, and then just a quick 2 minutes or less overview of your business for us.
I am Ashley Bella. My company is Artsy Bella. We have commercialized clinical art therapy as a service for businesses who want to invest in the wellness of their employees and their customers. So we teach people how they can use the practice of creating to add to their self-care toolbox and increase their happiness.
My name is Megan Narain, and I'm the co-founder of Culturally Relevant Science, and we make K-12 STEM curriculum focused on increasing representation for underrepresented students.
Yeah, I'm Amir Helmi. I'm the CEO and co-founder alongside my brother Chad of EpiPal. So we build family-centered software solutions for neurological disease safety and management.
Everybody, I'm Dr. Stewart. I'm the CEO and founder of Christian Motivate. It's a digital education platform designed to improve the learning process for unserved students. If you enjoy that platform right now,
So since this is a Main Street Game Changer panel, we're going to start you off with an easy question. So since completing the Main Street program, what notable successes or wins has your business achieved? And you can jump in if you're ready. So who wants to start? Notable successes or achievements since.
So after demo day in October, in second place, I used money to start my MVP. Funny, when I entered Main Street, I didn't even know what MVP was. So I'm excited and happy with the progress that I made. See my first MVP also. Don't think I was moving forward, but just the fact to feel validated felt really good, considering the progress I made in the year. I've also started to talk to potential customers. We've been negotiating with them as well. So I'm just moving forward consistently. Of course, hearing a lot of no's from different investors, different customers, different entities, but just the progress to keep going and the confidence I got from Main Street feeling really good.
Sure. I mean, I don't remember the exact timeline of what we had done at the end of Main Street to now. It's all been like a blur, and I'm like a cohort and a half ago, I think. You guys are in cohort 5, right? Cohort 4. World Registry. It's only into cohort 5.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm pretty sure none of the rest of them will remember either.
Okay.
I'm just practice. Go for it.
But so just for context, like our product is an app for epilepsy patients and caregivers. And we had done a lot of the research behind that prior to Main Street, and then we started the development process for a new platform, EpiPal, during the Main Street program. Shortly after, I think maybe like 6 months after the program ended, we were able to launch, and so we've been live for a little bit over a year now. We're about to hit our March with our anniversary being live, and we're generating revenue, which I think is pretty cool. So like we're now at a point where we're kind of like sustaining being able to do this full time. That's I think the biggest milestone that we've accomplished. Certainly we have more notable failures and things that we haven't come to fruition as we would have liked. And we've done some really cool collaboration on research grants with CHOA and Emily, Children's Healthcare by Manager, where we're also able to get something up and on that really funding. Cool.
Don't worry, we'll get to failures too, because that's a huge part of the journey, right? We're not going to try to hide those. They happen to all of us. So that's great, though.
So 2 really big things happened since me and my co-founder finished Main Street. One of them was we have a YouTube channel because we make animated videos that include all underrepresented casts, so the teachers, Black male, the students are all Black and brown. And that channel has officially become a YouTube paid partner. So we are generating revenue off of just the views from those videos, which is something that we didn't really think was going to happen for us. We have over 125,000 views. We're in over 10 different countries. 60% of those views are coming from ed tech platforms, meaning they're being used for classroom instruction, which was our goal. And we have almost 2,000 subscribers. So that was huge for us. Another big thing is the importance of community and network. After finishing Main Street, Denise, who was a part of Main Street, dropped my name for this Hulu Disney documentary that just happened last minute, and I ended up filming this documentary called Our America is Black with Disney and Hulu, which is now streaming, started streaming for Black History Month. And that documentary focuses on the Atlanta ecosystem of entrepreneurship. And I'm in that documentary as an up and coming entrepreneur, asking all of these big heavy hitters like Mr. Bailey from the Rice Center and the CEO of Brown Toy Box, all of these questions and advice. And that's something that also helped our views and got our followers up and got a lot of eyes and attention on this.
I would say, I guess since I've been in cohort 1, I've been out of the cohort the longest. I've been featured on a television network, on a small business entrepreneur show, a pitch competition. I think in total we raised almost, I'd say 90 or 95K in non-dilutive capital in the last 5 years. We survived the pandemic, thanks to the cohort. We also have consistently maintained an annual revenue of six-figure annual revenue. I now have 2 partners and 6 part-time staff, and that grew from being an army of 1. And we also have secured some contracts with really cool companies like Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Walmart, MARTA, Lululemon, and we're just getting started with going to market, developing an online platform, and yeah, I think that's it.
That's pretty impressive.
It's really amazing to hear actually because just for folks online and right here, this is representation, it's a very small representation actually of 4 basic cohorts across. Just for context, we graduated 75 businesses through the Main Street program. And these are just, for one, I was one of the best, representing Main Street. There are many others there. Everyone that comes through Main Street represent the best because they come through a very rigorous selection process. Through several rounds across hundreds of applications. But what I wanted to ask was, one thing Megan spoke to, and I think Nigel, you spoke to, and Amir did, and so did Ashley, is how from when you came into Main Street, from the time you left, your business changed, or I would say your idea pivoted, right? They call that the art of the pivot or whatever. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, how did Main Street play a role in that? Where else?
Got it.
Well, I definitely had one vision of what my company was. I think when I got into Main Street, I was running a different type of business, and I came into Main Street with a pivot in mind. And MK helped me to take it from just an idea and actually help me, because it made sense, but I had to understand why it made sense. I had to validate that this idea was worth putting all the energy and changing my entire business model for. And that was the biggest thing that Main Street did. So from that, I've made several other pivots. So we were first just teaching art classes to then teaching art for healing. And then it was doing in-person classes. And then it became a physical product, a subscription box, because we're all sheltered in place, to then pivoting again to now incorporating technology so that our customers still have interaction from a live person while they're playing.
Yeah, I think before I started Main Street, we really had no direction. I think we had 3 different businesses in one, and we really didn't know which direction to go because we're still fairly new. We're about to be 2 years official nonprofit, and so sitting with MK and his one-on-one experiences and him kind of like chopping up every idea that you had into something that could be like one thing. That's what MK did. Like he made us become like a digital platform for curriculum. That idea came from him because we knew we wanted to make videos. We knew we wanted to do some of this, some of that. But he really like zones you in to the one thing that's gonna one have the greatest impact and also generate the most money.
Yeah, for us, I think during the Main Street program, we definitely had a pivot from being like a safety-centered seizure detection platform. That was the core engine of what we were, to realizing through customer discovery, which was very big part on talking to customers throughout the cohort, the importance of the family aspect that we were building out as well. So we kind of put that up front and center in our platform. To this day, I think we're still kind of wiggling around and pivoting. Like we have something that works and works well, but I think continuing, the cool thing about doing a startup, especially a tech startup, I think is things are always changing. You're always learning something. And I think something that we really emphasize, like I said, the cohort was always talking to customers in this process. And as we've been doing that, we hear new things, we see new opportunities that we want to explore. So I think we're still have a pivot or two left in this, where we really hopefully hit a home run. You know.
I had actually already pivoted twice before I even got into Main Street. I started to do this when I was 21. I don't want to say I didn't have any idea what I was doing, but it wasn't like the brightest. I was going the right direction. So when I first got into Main Street, the goal of mine wasn't even to really start a tech company. It was just to provide services for students that need it. And I tell people all the time, growing up, my parents used to tell me I could be the president, athlete, firefighter, anything. They never said I could be the CEO of a tech company. And not because they didn't believe me, because that wasn't available or even an option. So just getting the confidence to do that on Main Street was the first huge step for me and going in the right direction. Because then I could get the blueprint that they also provided and start to run with that and do my own thing and get the most. So it's the confidence and the knowledge to be able to go out and create something, a platform that I'm building now. Same last year, it feel like there's no way. But after 3-4 months of Main Street, it was like, this is what I'm doing. I got everything I need behind it. And then with the resources and the knowledge on top of that, that's where I'm at now. That's where we're at. So that's what I say is the most important.
I think there's all sorts of great tidbits in there, and I mean, confidence is a big thing, right? And I think, you know, Ashley alluded to it too, from the standpoint that when, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic happened, she relied on the cohort, right, and your peers, who one can help you troubleshoot challenges that you have that they might have dealt with, but it's a peer network, it's a community, right? And it helps give you the confidence to keep going and keep building. And it's something that Amir said, you know, customer discovery, certainly, if you take an entrepreneurship course here, one of the things that you'll learn about is customer discovery. If you go to Main Street, you'll learn about customer discovery, and you know, the key is always listening to your customers. And just because you do it once doesn't mean you're done doing it. Amir said, you may constantly be looking for feedback from your customers. And, you know, you as the founder and CEO of the company will have to decide whether or not you pivot or not. And so, you know, there's always hard decisions to make, but listening to your customers continually, and indeed open to the idea of pivoting to build a product or multiple products. I continue to use so. I'll ask the next question. We'll expand outside Main Street a little bit before then we start talking more specifically about the businesses. So, you know, one of the things that I think is great about being a Georgia State student, being based in Atlanta, we're in a big metropolitan area, and it's a big metropolitan area that has put a lot of emphasis on creating an ecosystem that supports entrepreneurs and innovators. And so there are resources beyond all of the great resources that exist in Georgia State. There are resources well beyond these walls. And so maybe are there other accelerator programs or other incubators or community spaces that you've been a part of that have been integral to your journey in building your company?
Sane Access program, that was the program I did after I left Main Street. And I'm still involved within the Bay. What really stood out to me about them, I feel like Main Street really prepared me so much that I was looking for something else in other programs I participated in. And I like that Zane became like a village. So they're still very supportive today. If I need a resource, I have a question, if they don't have the answer, they'll find it for me. So that was a really good one that I liked after I did this.
I'm currently in the Emory Start Me Accelerator, which is very similar to Main Street. And I think it's really nice because I'm a lifelong learner. As a teacher, as someone in education, I always put myself into something so I can learn how to do it properly. And that's why I joined Main Street. And I'm always going to look for something after the next program because what I'm using in Start Me is everything that I built with MK and my mentor from Main Street. But now I'm adding like a financial aspect to my pitch, which is something that I needed to first figure out pricing, which is what I found out at Main Street. So this is one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give is continue putting yourself into accelerators and programs. And like you said, like Atlanta has so many accelerators and so many cohorts that then become your family that then you can always look back at the time in that cohort and say, that's where I was figuring out my pricing. That's where I was figuring out my ideas. This is where I'm figuring out my financials. So I do agree that Atlanta is a big ecosystem for those things.
Yeah, so there's a few resources that come to mind. First and foremost, I'm actually not a Georgia State student. I was a Georgia Tech student. So and the reason we were part of Main Street, my co-founder, my brother, was a Georgia State student. So we were part of. He was the better. He is not only. I won't disagree with that. Not only that, but it's funny that he's the one that's actually technically the CTO of the business and does a lot more of the development than me. So, and he's better at. But he's better at development. So yeah. So shout out to Georgia State, and I think this program that we went through was really good. We did the Georgia Tech CreateX one like a year before this one. I don't think we were as ready or embraced it in mind to really make the most of it. And it's a much broader program, a bigger program. I think this one is a lot more focused, and you get like a lot more one-on-one time. Without like comparing the pros and cons, like we really enjoyed the Georgia State program. Also, there's in Tech Square, the ATDC. The Atlanta Technology Development Center is a great place to like they have I think 3 tiers like educate, portfolio, and signature, where it's a really cool incubator. You see like a lot of other cool tech companies. We're a part of that. We learned a lot there from the mentors there. There's like Atlanta Tech Village as well. If someone is interested in entrepreneurship or they have a company, like I think they have open events where people can go and meet other folks and practice their pitch. And there's different levels of engagement and involvement depending on where you're at. But I think the cool thing about Atlanta in general is people are very friendly and like hospitable. They kind of have that like Southern hospitality. So if you are willing and courageous enough to ask for help, you'd be surprised like who you could access, who you could reach. And I think that's what's really cool that I've done. It's like other founders that are Atlanta based and have built companies in this city are very much willing to help you out. I think the accelerators and incubators are great, but once you go through a couple of them, you kind of have the formula and you need to implement it. And then I think accessing other founders in the Atlanta ecosystem is a great resource.
So, I found that maximizing my networking has done really well for me, just because people, one like-minded, but also are looking to help. So that's gone really well. I've been to ATP, I've been to the next thing. Got great feedback there, like help with guys. Main Street was my first accelerator I participated in. Like I said, it was everything for me. So since then, I'm actually applying now to Morehouse, which is my other arm. They're starting a new accelerator based out of West LA Innovation Center for Entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to get into that. But it'll be different because my purpose and focus is different. I'm going there knowing I'm trying to get customers and revenue, build out the platform that I have versus when I came into Main Street. So yeah, just expanding on who you already know, especially in Atlanta. I tell people all the time. I think Atlanta was just ranked as the best city to start a business. So it's like an incredible place to try to maximize who you have around you and the opportunities and resources that are available to anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur.
I'm gonna follow up on that too. So what I want to get to is a little bit around Main Street, but also like, you know, whether it's Main Street or any other incubator or accelerator that come to the purpose of that is to sort of build up founders and entrepreneurs and people get to the sort of next next stage in their idea, right? But what I really wanted to know is, and this is selfish to myself as well, is like, how do you prepare yourself mentally as a founder, as an entrepreneur? What is that mindset like for folks who are interested in starting a business, who are interested to apply a program at Main Street? What is, for each of them here, what is that mindset like? Because it's something like, can you prepare for it? Can you prepare for it? Or you just go with the flow and you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll start. So when I was a seventh in Main Street, I had failed a bunch of times. Like I said, I had already failed twice at a young age, and it was basically, I won't say nothing, but it was really, really lost and trying to figure out which direction to go. And so when I got accepted, I honestly didn't think I would be accepted. It felt like a huge blessing, and I knew regardless of what was going to happen, I had to make the most of the opportunity. So my mindset coming in was to take as many notes as possible, be as present as possible, talk to as many people as possible, be my genuine self all the time, and make sure that I got all the knowledge and information I was given. If somebody offered an extra session Zoom class where they could spend 20 minutes to review my business, I took advantage of that. Made sure that I followed up with people. I made sure to share what I was doing, just so I could, like I said, maximize the opportunity. Because it's hard, like, going into entrepreneurship that it's going to be tough, but you can't really start to feel the burden until you're broke or you're back into the wall. And it's like, I almost want to say a rite of passage for anybody that wants to have a business, but you got to accept that and understand that that's the process, because getting through that only makes you and your business better. It provides the discipline, it provides the customer discovery, it provides the knowledge and the tools needed. Because now I'm 4 years, it'll be 4 years in November, so 3.5. And I can't believe how far I've come, but it's been really, 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 really tough. But like now I'm sitting here, and so it almost doesn't feel real because of how far I've come. So yeah, you just got to be mentally prepared to do the work and really like it.
I think Nigel said a lot of stuff really good, to be honest with you. There is one word that you said that kind of like stood out to me that I wish I had this mentality a little bit more when I was going through certain programs or it's like earlier stage of our business, is like the word blessing, because entrepreneurship is pretty privileged to be able to do. Just the fact that you're able to start your own business. Sometimes you can go full time on it. It depends on your situation, but to be able to be in a program, have funding, have access to people that are willing to help you and be generous with their time is a very big privilege. So I think feeling like the intensity of that opportunity and trying to make the most of it is the right mindset to have. Pretty much echoing everything Nigel was saying. Like try to learn as much as you can and try to be fast, because like fail fast. I wish we failed faster, quicker at certain things. Like, figure it out. If you have a hypothesis, test it quickly, figure it out. Like be intentional, be fast. I think is the right mentality to have, especially like if it's a 6-month program. You could get a lot done in 6 months, but you'd be surprised. And you could also wait 6 months very fast. And then the second thing is, like, I think part of it is also you can't be prepared. So be open-minded. Like as a first-time founder, a lot of things are going to surprise you. And you have to, I think, have a level of confidence and a naive confidence that things are going to go your way. And then figure out the hard way sometimes that it's not always going to go your way. and then, but still try to keep fun.
Yeah, I think naive confidence is a really funny term because, like, to be an entrepreneur, you have to believe insanely in your idea and what you're doing, and you have to work a lot. It can get very lonely, get very defeated sometimes, but like it's this confidence, and like it can get uncomfortable. Like you always have to be open to talking about your business, to building a network, to making connections, whether you're exhausted or not, because you never know what door may open based off the person that you talk to. And so it's one of the big reasons why I always join an accelerator is, as Nigel said, you need that structure and you need that guidance, because if you do get defeated, if you do feel like you're too tired and you kind of put some stuff off, at least you have that accelerator to be like, MK says you have this deadline now, you got to meet with me at 4, I need this by the next week. It's a way to put yourself in that structure without actually like having a class or a course or spending money.
I think that I learned very early on that I had to develop a higher level of discipline in my work ethic, entrepreneurship than I did when I was in corporate America or just working full time in nonprofit. And I originally thought this is gonna be easy. I could just, work in my pajamas and but I actually worked a whole lot more longer hours. And then having to get comfortable with looking crazy to people in your life. With people not understanding what you're doing or why, and even get to that point where you feel you validate yourself enough where you don't feel like you have to explain everything to everybody all the time, because you can get into that trying to explain to people who have no idea what you're doing and don't understand entrepreneurship. It's dangerous because they could end up discouraging you or giving you bad advice that you don't need. And so just being comfortable with looking crazy for a little while and just knowing that at some point you'll turn that curve and everybody will get it, and then everybody will want a job and they want to do all the cool stuff with you. And then I would just say that I definitely like sounds mushy, but I definitely had to like fall in love with myself with just putting more attention into learning more about myself, but putting myself first, because I think it's very lonely. And at times you may be the only person encouraging yourself to keep going when you're ready to quit. And then everything else is there.
So I think you all made some really important points there, but I want to kind of hit on something that Megan and Ashley said. And I think for me, the word is accountability. And when you're a solo founder in particular, or before you started to build a team, you have to find a way to hold yourself accountable, and find others that will help hold you accountable. And that that can be a lot of different people, whether it's part of your cohort, or in my case it's my husband, because I quit my job to build this business. And so I think there is more flexibility when you're running your own business, but there's no less work, and you do have to find you have to have some structure and find a way to hold yourself accountable for doing the work, because as you all said, you got to do the work. The other thing, Ashley, that I think is really important is something that I'm experiencing and experience firsthand. So I'm somebody that's throughout I'm a little bit older than probably everybody in here, and so I've got a lot of experience. So that's what that translates to. But I've spent my career, working within organizations more as an entrepreneur, right? So I like to be doing new things, but I've always been within an established organization, some big, like early stage, Emory University, and some smaller, but still always, getting a paycheck month after month, and have a very strong professional network. And it was really interesting when I decided to step down from Georgia State and said, I'm leaving this job, this very good job, to go build a business. And the people that had been entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs were super excited for me. And a lot of my other professional colleagues were kind of looked at me like, what's wrong with her? What's going on, right? And so, I mean, I think it's very real. I mean, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and not everybody understands it, the why you do it and how you do it. And so I think it's really important to find a community of people that are going to support you through the ups and downs. Let's see, I want to hear from you all. Talk about a time or something that happened when a particular innovation or creative idea significantly impacted the trajectory of your business. And just to be clear, it doesn't necessarily have to be a positive thing, right? Because we also know that innovations or, innovation, particularly disruptive innovation, can be bad for certain types of businesses, right? If you're not the disruptor, then it can be disruptive to your business. And so talk a little bit about kind of, how a creative idea or an innovation changed or impacted the trajectory of your business.
I can share something that comes to mind, like that's happened relatively recently to the top of my mind. I don't know how it will impact, but so far it's been positive, at least the initial signs of it. So, I'm in the health tech business, but when speaking about creativity, I had someone recently tell me that, and I kind of like this even though it's cheesy, but they said, if you're not in the health tech business, you're always in the people business. But at the end of the day, you're always selling to a human being, or you're networking with people or working with people at the end of everything. And so kind of along those lines, I was very fortunate enough to come into contact with a person at a pharmaceutical company here locally in Atlanta who kind of we were just looking at certain things in our application together. We were looking at some of the database of patients that we have on our platform right now. And he kind of saw something that we would have never seen otherwise. And that creative thing was like the fact that we have certain patients on our platform that are rare disease patients. So within epilepsy, without diving into too many details, general epilepsy, flat seizures, and then the rare forms of epilepsy. And so we just thought, other types of patients, whatever, doesn't even matter. And he said, what you guys have here is a gold mine. Because for pharmaceutical companies to develop drugs, if they're the first to get to a drug, they can monetize it a lot more than if it's a generic drug. So to give an example, like a pharma company, if they give a drug to somebody with epilepsy, they make $5,000 a month. If they give a drug to somebody with a rare form of epilepsy, they make $120,000 a month, right? So their revenue is crazy high for that. And we would have never known that this population is extremely valuable, and this data that we have is extremely, potentially, no one's written us a check in, but potentially extremely valuable. And so that kind of creative idea, though, came about a month and a half ago. And since then, we've been really trying to scramble to build for this community to, really get more of these people on our platform and see what the data can do. But yeah, I guess that's a creative idea that's kind of changing a little bit of our focus right now. And hopefully it's positive. Maybe it'll be we're digging for gold where there isn't any, but that's kind of something that we're excited we discovered it, and
I think the things that help really innovate and help our business take off were probably things I argued with MK about the most, which was one, getting a team and not trying to do 12 jobs as one person, and spreading the load out, getting the right people in there. And I'm like, oh, I can breathe a little bit. This is what that's like to duplicate yourself and have good people say, because I think all my ideas are amazing, but they may not all be right for the business, and having other brains around as we're iterating and strategizing has helped. And then the other thing is, I was coming from the mental health profession. I too am very passionate about people. And so I was really stuck on, I just want to work with individual people, right? Just in the heart part of the work. And transitioning into focusing on providing services for businesses, things exploded for us after that. So going from like B2C to B2B, and now we're B2B2C because I found a way to get me back to people through the businesses has been tremendous work.
Yeah, a lot of our stuff is digital creation. So I think one thing we were doing in the beginning was we were kind of making a lot of different videos, just because that's what we thought people wanted to see. And so I say that once we started building, like focusing on just like one course, like for instance, if we're doing biology, we just make animated videos for that one biology course. So that by the end of it, we have a full course done, and now we have a package to sell to the school, as opposed to making a couple bio here, a couple chemistry here, a couple physics here. We didn't really have a full product. So when we were trying to approach schools, they were like, well, what do you have for us? We didn't really have anything. We had great videos on YouTube, but not a package that could then take us to a school and then scale our impact. So once we decided to like take out all the noise and just focus on one course, which is biology, that's when our YouTube channel started growing, because teachers could now across the country follow us standard by standard, play the video, how they're being uploaded along with our school that we're piloting it. And that's what took our views on YouTube off the charts. And like I said, I don't think we ever really thought YouTube to be a source of recurring revenue. Like me and MK never talked about that in our mentoring sessions. I mean, that's just something that just kind of happened once we started listening to the crowd, which are teachers across the country, and producing content that they could play right away in their classrooms and put on platforms and get like rack us up 100 views in one day from one teacher.
For me, something that's super innovative that I'm excited to use is AI. So when I first started, I was just contracting out virtual tools to students. I interned at CES, which is a tech expo in Vegas, and I was just kind of shopping about it. I just asking people and showing them what I got on my website. And I had about 60 kids who had been tutored, and it had gone really well. But somebody came and asked me, do you have the data for that? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, that's what you need. And I had no idea how I was going to collect that data, or legally how I was going to do it. And one day I talked to Risha, and she was like, you need to seriously consider how you're going to collect your data. And I was still not naive, but unsure how I was going to go about that. And then one day, I actually saw a video about Tesla talking about how their cars collect data every mile that their car drives and feeds that back to the database, so that the headquarters can actually use that information. So that was a problem. So I thought I can really use a similar model to collect data on the student's performance, so I can provide them feedback in real time to help them, but also use that data to make my platform better. So I'm super excited to implement that when the time comes, because it is expensive. But that's one thing that I'll be pitching to when I start testing it as well. I might not have it at this moment in April, but this is what's coming down the line. This is how I help the student. So, something.
Yeah, a little different from the AI. It's really interesting. But before we get there, I wanna follow up on like all of you said. All of you mentioned my name, and really humbled by that. I take no credit, to be honest. I think the credit belongs to each of you. The reason it belongs to each of you is, when a cohort comes in from Main Street, I have no favorites. We starting out. I love everybody. I give the same advice, same harshness, same love, all of that. Eventually, there are entrepreneurs who are really good at listening, internalizing, and taking what I'm telling them what their mentors are telling them. I want you to really talk about that mentality. Like when I spoke with every entrepreneur, every founder that comes to a cohort, probably the same. My style never changes. I am who I am, and embrace it. But each of you though, and the founders who stood out, there's a sense of listening, this listening mindset, coachable. I want you to talk about how your mind works when you are talking to your men. And I think this last cohort, we actually had a mentor program, right? That we brought in some of the best people around the ecosystem. We put together and paired them up with entrepreneurs. I want you all to talk about that. Like, when you listen, when you hear something like when you talk to me or any of your mentors, how are you? What's your mindset? Because that mentality is crucial for first-time founders, early stage founders to be successful. That's how I feel, and that's how I have been sort of trying, and I continue to have mentors. I'm still learning, learning, right? So I want you to talk about that.
Sure. So the first one is from like a common sense standpoint. If somebody is in front of me who has already built like the business and they're trying to give you advice, it's pretty simple to listen to what they have to say because they know what they're talking about. Like a professor in school, that's their job. From I guess more simple standpoint, not simple, but when I was younger, the basketball coach told me that the number one key a coach looks for in a player is the ability to listen, and that always stuck with me because that could literally be a differentiator in play and work ethic. Just how do you listen to advice and instructions on the court? And we talk about accountability. You got to take that and apply it to everything you do. So listening in your relationships to your parents, to your friends, it's something that's overrated. Looked at as simple, but it's you got to actively pursue it, work at it, practice skill. And then when you do this and you get all that information and you retain it, and all it can do is give you extra information to push your business further and your personal self further. So yeah, listening is it's just underrated opportunity to do it. You gotta be able to do it. Because you quite literally have to have a coach in order to have success. Several, if not single. So you got to take what they give you a minute. It starts with this.
I think that kind of give you maybe like try to answer this question. So you asked like what's going on in my mind. You give advice. I think that for me at least personally, there's a couple of things going on with like a mentor trying to get advice first, and benefits that I see that are huge. First is like I think inspiration, especially the first time founder and a young person. Like when you see somebody that's older, oftentimes that maybe looks like you or comes from a similar background as you, or has shared a similar journey as you, and you just resonate with them. It's inspiring to see that, and I think that's really, really important. To see it with your own eyes, not just hear about it, that this can be done, this pathway can be trailblazed forward, and this is what I could potentially be professionally in the future. Number two, I think, especially early on, it's really important and it feels really good to have like a cheerleader almost, or people telling you, you can do this. I think Arnold Palmer, the golfer, but he said like the number one thing that a coach can give somebody that has skill is confidence. You're ready and you can do this, you can win. And so I think that's an immense value. And I think recognizing that this person doesn't have to do this, but they're taking the time to coach me and believe in me is an incredible feeling. And I think the third thing that you have to have is like a meta thing in entrepreneurship in general, and I'm still not very great at it, is resourcefulness. So like you got to figure out how to do things fast, cheap, and I think one of the best ways to be resourceful is using the wisdom of other people. And mentors are a huge, huge way. Like if you understand and recognize the importance and you cultivate resourcefulness, I think as you get feedback from your mentors, you will be attentive and try to listen and implement it. Like, how can I get more? How can I turn around it and implement this quickly and then go for the next session so we can take it further and even beyond, because that extra 20% will make all the difference at the end of the day. And I think as you get a lot of mentors, sometimes you'll hear conflicting opinions. And so it's a little bit hard to like, who do I listen to? And I think the important thing is at least listen and understand what they're saying, and then you can make your own decision. Sometimes you like, I was telling you earlier today when we've done a session, I didn't listen to one of the last things. We regret it, you know what I'm saying? We wasted a bunch of time. But at least listen so you hear it going forward. I think it's super important. And then I know I've been rambling, but last thing is like as a young entrepreneur, if you're in your 20s, you have to realize like this is not your earning time. Like your max earning probably in your life is going to happen later, but this is your max learning time, right? So you should be a sponge and try to absorb it.
Yeah, I'm gonna second everything they said, and I just want to highlight like you can listen as much as you want, but what you do with that is to me is more important. As he said, you could get conflicting stuff from a lot of different people, and you can get a lot of good stuff from a lot of people, and all of that can eventually get very overwhelming. And with the loneliness and the crazy mindedness that comes with entrepreneurship, sometimes you just get advice and you leave it there. The most important thing is to use it right away, implement it right away. If it's something that you feel like can help you, don't just take notes on it, leave it in a notebook, and come back to it the next day, right? Implement it as soon as you can. Use it as soon as you can, because that's the most fruitful. Like when MK was giving me all of this advice and I had all of these papers and notes, I was so excited after I got off to go and like change my pitch with everything that he said, right? To go and like email these people with everything that he said. It's the after effect to me was
So I don't get to talk about it much anymore, being further along, but I come from a very humble beginning. And I come from parents who the most that I'll get from them is congratulations, keep going. I don't have anybody I can call for help if this goes left or if I get stuck. And I came into Main Street just having quit my job with no money, didn't even have a place to live at that point. When I first started the business, I think I finally did have somewhere to live after once I got in. But I came like I have no other option. There's no backup plan. This is it. So I felt like I really have nothing to lose by listening and considering that these people may know more than I do. I humbled myself. I got real humble and realized that like, it's okay for me to not have all the answers, to not know everything. Our egos get inflated real big, especially when we have a few sales and we get a few likes on social media. And I was very careful about not letting that get in the way of me being able to digest the things that I knew I didn't know. And I would say being on the other side of it 5 years later, there's so many things like I told y'all that like, you know, MK always gives us great advice, but I didn't listen to everything because like, what do you know, right? But there's stuff that I finally did listen to, and I probably could have saved myself 2 or 3 years. I could have been in 6-figure revenue a few years ago had I listened to the stuff then. But I guess I had to go like learn it on my own and fall and bump my head. So I would just say, and you're gonna have those moments. Sometimes you're just gonna have to have that aha moment on your own. But if you can, just try to say, eat the meat, throw it away the bones. You know, nobody knows your business like you do, but you know, if someone's built an exit, a few companies, you're still trying to figure out the first one.